You know the sound. It is not the sound of genuine appreciation, but a hollow, rhythmic clatter, the collective friction of palms meeting in a ritual you never asked to perform. You are standing under the stage lights, the heat prickling the back of your neck, your smile stretched so thin it feels like glass about to shatter. They are cheering, but as the noise intensifies, you find yourself drifting, detached from your own skin, watching a version of yourself who seems perfectly competent, perfectly successful, and utterly alien. You look at them, these people who see a masterpiece of a human being, and you feel the sharp, cold needle of imposter syndrome burrowing deeper into your chest. It is a strange, suffocating irony. The more they validate you, the less real you feel. You have spent years building this fortress of achievements, this immaculate exterior, only to realize that you have inadvertently locked yourself inside. The room is full, yet you are the only one who knows that the pedestal you are standing on is built entirely of smoke and mirrors. You are drowning in the very recognition you were told would save you. The commute home is always the same. You sit in the dark of your car, the silence pressing against your eardrums like a physical weight, heavier than any noise. You keep replaying the event, picking apart every gesture, every inflection of your voice, looking for the telltale sign that someone might have seen through the veil. You analyze the way you walked, the way you blinked, wondering if they noticed that your eyes weren't really there. You are a detective investigating your own fraudulence. It is an exhausting, relentless interrogation that never leads to an acquittal. Every compliment you received is weighed, measured, and ultimately discarded as a miscalculation on their part. If they knew the sheer amount of energy it takes just to show up, just to pretend that you aren't constantly teetering on the edge of a nervous collapse, they wouldn't be clapping. They would be terrified. You stare at the dashboard, watching the dim light reflect off your face, and you barely recognize the person staring back. You have become such an expert at being what others need you to be that you have forgotten how to be a person who simply exists without a purpose, without a performance, without a scoreboard. Inside your apartment, the stillness is absolute. You shed the layers of the day, the blazer, the watch, the persona, but the feeling of being an intruder in your own life doesn't dissipate. You find yourself wandering through your own home like a ghost, touching objects that feel cold and distant. There is a deep, agonizing disconnect between the internal chaos and the external order you have meticulously cultivated. You look at your books, your trophies, your organized calendar, and they feel like artifacts from a stranger's life. You are gripped by this persistent, low-grade terror that one day, the dam will break. The facade will crack in front of everyone, and they will see the shivering, uncertain child you are still trying to protect. You spend hours in the dark, scrolling through feeds, watching others who seem to have figured out the secret to existing comfortably in their own skin. You envy their ease, their lack of a frantic internal dialogue. You think about the masks you have worn today, the confident professional, the charming acquaintance, the reliable friend, and you realize that none of them are you. You have been running a relay race with yourself, passing a baton that you never wanted to carry in the first place, sprinting toward a finish line that keeps receding into the distance. It is in these quiet, unobserved hours that the weight becomes most apparent. You try to read, to distract yourself, but the words swim on the page. Your mind is a cluttered basement filled with boxes of things you haven't dared to look at in years, old fears, forgotten desires, and the crushing expectation that you must be more than what you are. You worry that if you stop moving, if you stop striving, you will simply dissolve. This is the cruelty of high-functioning anxiety. You are performing at your peak while simultaneously mourning the loss of your own soul. You feel like a theater production where the play has been running for 100 nights, but the lead actor has forgotten their lines and is just mimicking the movements, hoping the audience won't notice the lack of heart. You crave someone to look past the performance, to ignore the awards and the accolades, and just ask if you are okay. But you also know that if they did, you would probably lie, because the lie has become your primary language. It is safer to be misunderstood as a success than to be truly seen as a struggle. Tonight, the silence doesn't offer comfort, it offers a mirror. You trace the lines of your palm and wonder where the real you went, the version of you before the world told you that your value was tied to your output. You feel like a hollow shell, resonant but empty. Every interaction today feels like a transaction where you traded a piece of your sanity for a morsel of external approval, and now you are left bankrupt. You realize that you have been looking for the wrong kind of shelter. You have been trying to fill a bottomless pit with the noise of other people's expectations, forgetting that you cannot be satisfied by applause for a character you are playing, because the praise never touches the person behind the mask. It is an echo in an empty chamber, beautiful to listen to, but ultimately belonging to nobody. Finally, the realization settles in, heavy and irreversible. You have spent your entire life trying to earn a seat at a table that doesn't exist. The doubt you feel isn't a sign that you are a failure, it is the only remaining part of you that is telling the truth. It is the quiet, muffled voice of your own autonomy, desperately trying to get your attention through the static of your own achievements. You are not a fraud because you feel like one. You are a person who has been coerced into believing that being human is a professional liability. You haven't lost your capability, you have lost your permission to be imperfect. And as the gray light of dawn begins to bleed through the curtains, you stop fighting. You realize that the applause you chased was never for you, and that the only validation that could ever actually fix this, the only thing that could make the room stop feeling so empty, is the one thing you have denied yourself, the simple, quiet, terrifying act of showing up as exactly who you are, without a script, without a performance, and without the need for anyone else to agree that you are enough. You are the only one left to convince, and for the first time, you are finally listening. The louder they cheer, the quieter you become. The more you achieve, the less you feel.